If you want to make charcoal, you need to burn something. And when drought has made it impossible to harvest your crops, selling charcoal becomes one of the few ways left to put food on the table. Climate change has already taken root in Zambia's southern province. There, the soils are depleted from years of intensive maize farming. Cutting down trees to make charcoal has eroded the land. And last year, there was the worst drought in a generation during the rainy season. In this episode, we meet Cornwell Hademu. He's a 66-year-old Zambian farmer. When most smallholder farmers in the country struggled to get a yield last harvest, his farm continued to thrive. His secret? Farming with the land, not against it. Cornwell believes in sustainable agriculture, so much that he's doing everything he can to help others around Choma district adopt the practice. He's been mentoring his community for years.
When you are dealing with a community, the community is diverse. There are those who are knowledgeable, there are those who are timid, there are those who just want to spoil things, but we can all bring them on board.
Listening to nature is not always easy work, but when you can learn from each other rather than doing it all on your own, it's the kind of change that makes the difference between having a full belly or going to sleep hungry. Welcome to Nature Answers, rural stories from a changing planet. Together, we explore stories of how communities in rural sub-Saharan Africa are working with nature to adapt to climate change. We're talking about nature-based solutions, but more importantly, the stories of people who are using those solutions to make a difference in their communities. I'm your host, Ivy Prosper, joining you from Accra, Ghana. We're wrapping up Season 2 of Nature Answers with a 3-part special. I've been given a privilege of being your host this season, exploring these important stories in communities that have found solutions using nature as their guide. In each of the next 3 episodes, you'll meet different people in one community of Zambia who have embraced nature-based solutions, and we'll see how they are not only improving their farms and their incomes, but how they're improving each other. Remember, nature-based solutions are those ways of adapting to climate change that benefit both nature and communities. And one of those solutions is sustainable or climate-smart agriculture.
Headman Hamaja Jikila in Mapanza Chiefdom of Choma District, Philemon Najandwe, has called for consistent supply of the Zambia National Service produced mealie meal in the area. Najandwe tells Baita FM News in an interview that locals are failing to access the product owing to shortages, further noting that at times the vehicle transporting the mealie meal comes to the area at night, disadvantaging some people. He adds that with the water challenges in the area, residents are compelled to choose between queuing up for mealie meal and covering long distances to access water.
Baita FM is a popular radio station with farmers in the Choma area. When they aired this news report late last June, it was not breaking news that there were mealie meal shortages. It's a known fact. Mealie meal is a fine maize meal used to make Zambia's staple food, Choma. You tear pieces of it and roll them in your hands. Its mild flavor lets vegetables and meat stews shine when you scoop them up into a bite. It's so prevalent that some people say they haven't eaten yet if they haven't had some Choma. So when there are shortages, people end up lining up for hours in town to make sure they get their share when a shipment arrives. The 2024 shortage stems from the drought Zambia experienced during the rainy season. It's the worst drought the country has had in 40 years. Maize was badly hit. The resulting crop failure left many farmers with empty plates and empty wallets. This wasn't the first drought in recent years to hit the country either.
Starting in 2015, they felt it, they saw it, they got hungry because of climate change. 2019, the country again went through severe drought. where they had to depend on government for handouts, for food. Here we are, 4, 5 provinces have no food. So everybody now has accepted that the climate has changed.
That was the voice of Cornwell Hademu. In 2015, disaster struck his farm.
Yeah, so 2015 there was a drought, and I was doing conventional farming, and I lost everything. I lost my maize, I lost my beans, I lost my sunflower.
What he means by conventional farming is the way agriculture is typically done at small scale in Zambia. People usually rely on oxen to plow the entire fields. They pay for expensive chemical fertilizers and pesticides. But Cornwell says this method failed him. So he went looking for solutions. He found Zambian farmers online who fully committed to sustainable farming. And he realized that while the country was going hungry, their farms were still doing well. So Cornwell went to visit them. One was the son of a former vice president. He became his mentor and hosted him on his farm to show him the ropes. By 2017, Cornwell had made a full switch to sustainable methods. Now, even in the middle of the dry season, his farm is like a lush oasis in sun-dried Choma. He even produces enough beans to start exporting to Botswana. But it wasn't easy getting to where he is now. His yield was low, too low in the first few years. And the people around him who watched as he started to try things that went against everything they knew about farming, well, they just said, "We told you so."
Well, first of all, they called me a town boy. This can't work. Whatever he's introducing here can't work.
Though Cornwell can laugh about it now, he felt really alienated from his community. Some people even went as far as accusing him of adopting satanic practices.
I almost sold the farm. I was asking myself, why should I have to go through this when I have my own homeland? Because this is not my homeland. I come from 100 kilometers from here.
All of this for a bit of mulching and crop cover. But he kept going. Over the years, Cornwell stopped plowing with oxen. He let his green beans climb maize stalks in the field. At the same time, he planted pumpkins whose leaves shaded the ground. He made his own piles of compost manure, flipping them every 2 weeks. That he used to replace chemical fertilizers. These practices have paid off over time. Cornwell now grows an entire grocery store's worth of produce: maize, groundnuts, cowpeas, wheat, fragrant Washington oranges, and guava fruits. Bananas clustered on over 500 trees. Medical moringa used in porridges and teas to combat inflammation. Even garlic and spicy chilies used to produce his own organic pesticide spray.
It hasn't been an easy journey, but I'm glad I can safely say that I'm now in sustainable agriculture 100%.
But Cornwell did not leave it at that. He's not resting on his laurels. Now he's busy helping others achieve the same. Cornwell was a social worker in Choma before he retired to farm in 2021. Making people laugh and putting them at ease has always been easier than dealing with machines for him. He has his own philosophy for community work.
When you are working with a community, do not leave them behind. In whatever activity you are doing, if you want them to be fully involved, you need to know their fears. You should also know what their interests are so that you can together move.
Cornwell is willing to teach anyone who shows up to learn, but he also tries to focus his efforts on vulnerable people in particular. And he knows that takes special kinds of effort.
I choose a community, very poor community in there. I invite elderly women, maybe above 60 years. We sit in a shelter. I provide meal, I provide cooking oil and carpenter. We have a meal together. And then I start learning from them what challenges they go through. So I have developed that interest of working with the vulnerable community members.
When he realized how beneficial sustainable agriculture was for him, it was only natural to channel his social work experience towards teaching others. After all, he experienced firsthand what difference good mentorship could make in the process.
People will be able to see live solutions to their problems. So mentorship is very, very critical. I'm grateful to all my colleagues who have mentored me when I was really down, getting discouraged, but they were there encouraging me to go on.
One of the places where he put his philosophy to work is in the village of Mbole. It's the village that hosts the palace of Chief Choma. He is the traditional king of the Choma chiefdom. He's also a farmer himself. Chief Choma has worked with Cornwell since 2012, and he has noticed his positive influence in the community.
Just to describe Mr. Hademu, since I knew him, I know him as a man who was born with humbleness. He is a down-to-earth man. He has taught and empowered so many women. Even where you are going, you will see for yourselves that he is much cherished by all women because of his good deeds towards women. In this chiefdom, he has really worked. He's a good man who works with different age groups: children, women, old men, youths, and so on.
But don't just take it from him. Just a short drive away from the chief's palace, you can find the meeting place of the Twachiyanda women's self-help group. They bring long wooden benches to sit in the shade of low, twisty trees. Translated from Tonga, the name of the group means "we love it." The ladies of Twachiyanda are very fond of Cornwell. Loveness Mujangwe is their leader. She can vouch for their experience working with him over the past 16 years.
With many years of working with him, we have no pressing issues working with him. He is the most understanding man who is just a call away.
Cornwell met the ladies of the group through his work before he made his own transition to sustainable farming. But once he did, he started teaching them too. At first, the ladies say they had limited knowledge when it came to agriculture. Men were in control of the fields. Women were not encouraged to take part in the conversation. When Cornwell started to teach them, they were eager to learn. But it was hard to bring the practices home. Their husbands liked things to be done a certain way in the field. They told the ladies that their experiments would ruin their maize. So the women had ideas about what they wanted to try out, but nowhere to try them. That's until the chief decided that enough was enough. He made it so that the women could now own land. He asked the village headmen, under his authority, to tell men in their villages that they had to give land to their wives. Now the ladies in the group have their own land parcels to cultivate as they wish.
My name is Alfonsina Munsaga. What made me happy is to have my own field. Of late, I used to be dictated by my husband whenever I want to plant crop cover in his field. He would stop me, saying it would destroy his crops. But nowadays, with this conservation farming method, I do what makes me happy always, and I'm always happy.
But it was still a challenge to learn how to do sustainable agriculture by themselves. It's a labor-intensive process in the first few years. It involves a lot of weeding and preparing the land by hand is a lot harder than strapping a plow to a couple of oxen. But over the years, it got easier for them. The holes dug for planting remained in place, and the crop cover stopped weeds from spreading as much. The ladies also say they get bigger yields from farming this way, impressing even their husbands who were so reluctant. Despite last year's drought, one of them says she was able to harvest 5 bags of 50 kilograms worth of crops to feed her family.
My name is Roberta Hamangaba. The importance of this conservation farming method is that we were able to harvest something when we were hit with a drought this year. Whoever used it when planting harvested at least something little, but those who used other methods did not harvest anything.
Plentiful harvests from sustainable agriculture have transformed the landscape of these women's lives. Now that they feel confident in their knowledge, they've started to teach others in their village as well. Loveness Muchangwe thinks it's too difficult to learn all of that by herself.
It is not possible because even in my sessions, we learn to do things systematically and in good time without being wasteful. So it is not possible for someone to know this practice by themselves unless someone teaches them.
The confidence they've built from their success has also inspired them to become leaders in their village. Unwanted teenage pregnancies are on the rise in the Choma district. Making sure young girls don't miss out on their education because of this is one of Chief Choma's priority issues.
If one falls pregnant, once they've delivered, they have an opportunity to get back to school. No underage child is married because I want them to be educated and independent.
The ladies of Twachiyanda group have decided to follow his lead and have taken the matter into their own hands. Loveness Muchangwe says that so far, their efforts are working in Mbole.
We worked with other women in the Quality Improvement Initiative to retrieve about 17 girls from marriages and took them to school. We have uniforms that we use when we go to sensitize in the schools in the presence of the teachers. And when pupils have fallen pregnant, the committee is called upon around the schools to counsel the girl who's fallen pregnant and the parents for her to go back to school once she delivers. Most of the women nowadays take care of their grandchildren while the girls go back to school.
And that's not even the only way sustainable farming is keeping more children in schools in Mbole. The ladies grow enough crops to both feed their families and sell what they don't need. Moliva Mugonka says that through the money they make, they are able to provide for their families in more ways than just food.
Even men nowadays are very much happy about this conservation method because it has really made things easier for us to help them pay for school fees for our school-going children. Lately, it was all on them to look for school fees to pay for school-going children. But nowadays, we can safely say we are proud because of this conservation farming method. We are able to take our children to school without total dependence on our spouses.
The members of Twachiyanda remember when they used to always have to ask their husbands for money, even for their basic needs. Now they can spend as they please, from home necessities to beautiful new clothes. Farming is still hard work, but Loveness Muchangwe says she wouldn't want to go back to how things were.
Nowadays, I'm happy because people come looking for us. In the past, there are a lot of divorce cases because we were not independent. The chief is well aware of this. When men looked at us, we were more like parasites to them because obviously we depended on them for everything else that we needed. But nowadays, we are independent. We are able to do everything that we want ourselves, unlike in the olden days when there was total dependence on their spouses.
As more people adopt sustainable agriculture, ripple effects are felt across the community. In Zambia, the drought has left many people without food on the table in rural areas. Some rely on foraging a lot more than they ever did before. In the worst cases, it can be as bad as spending all day trying to scrounge up for food for a family of 8 or 9. Sometimes people didn't find enough, and they go to bed on an empty stomach and try again the next day. Chief Choma doesn't want this for his people.
The goodness I saw and all I wish for is that if one has enough food at home, all problems can be solved. Children will go to school, and when you are wealthy, it means you have everything at your disposal. So now, we are fighting poverty. When you are working, you can't be stigmatized because you speak freely. As I am speaking to you, you can see I am speaking happily and with love.
Happily and with love. That is also how the ladies of Twachiyanda express themselves despite the hard times. For them, sustainable farming has been a saving grace from the worst effects of the drought.
And me as Emma Mudenda, all I want is the continued practicing of this conservation farming method because it has really helped so many people. When you go to a field that used the ordinary way of farming, it looks as though cement was applied to that field. We want to encourage everyone to join hands in ensuring that we undertake this method because it helps your soil fertility even when there's a drought. Last year, when we had rains, me and my husband, we reaped about 30 hectares and we had maize yielding results. We are encouraging everyone to use this farming method as it is affordable and reliable because it would in turn give good yields. Conservation farming is very beneficial because everyone will have enough food for the family.
It is why they teach others how to adopt sustainable farming. It is also why Cornwell decided to mentor them and many others in the first place. After being a social worker for years, he has seen what food insecurity looks like in his community.
Food is life. And when there's no food in a home, there's this serious insecurity. First of all, women and the children are the ones who suffer, because they have no other source of income to raise their food. So food insecurity is very, very important to me because it affects the entire family. Husband normally would go away, visit town, they eat something, but they will not consider the children. But a woman, even if she has to buy a loaf of bread, she will hide it for a child. So the growth of the children is very important because those are the future generation. It's the country. Women, when there's insecurity in the home, food insecurity in the home, it means that love is no longer there in that home. There's no peace. There's a lot of fighting, and the children are the ones who suffer. And when children suffer, it reminds me of old days. They'll be back in the street, selling on the street, begging on the street, early marriages on the street. So it hurts me somehow. So food insecurity is not something we should encourage at all.
Fostering mentorship is one way that Cornwell has found to help his community. But he also knows that sustainable farming has room to grow. In our next episode, join us as we meet government researchers, a budding social entrepreneurship business, and a youth farmer. Together with Cornwell, they are pushing the boundaries of sustainable agriculture in the southern province. This is Nature Answers from Farm Radio International. You can learn more about nature-based solutions and the people implementing them by subscribing to Nature Answers wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on social media at Farm Radio. Find pictures of the community on our website at farmradio.org/natureanswers. You will also find transcripts and more about nature-based solutions there. You can also help support the work Farm Radio International is doing to support farmers like the Malili's Women Cooperative by leaving us a donation there at farmradio.org. Finally, share Nature Answers with your friends, your family. We'd love for you to spread the word. Stay tuned for the next 2 episodes where we'll check back in with Cornwell and others in Choma and see how these nature-based solutions are bringing systemic change to the area. Until next time, I'm your host, Ivy Prosper, coming to you from Accra, Ghana.